Happy Friday! Today I'm going to show you all of the alternatives I was able to make with the January 2026 paper pumpkin kit. And hold on, I'm getting my computer going here. And I don't want to hear the comments, and I don't want to hear myself. Okay. I was able to make 19 alternatives with this kit. And the funny thing was, I didn't even like this kit. I meant to cancel it before the 10th of the month. But a friend was having a Zoom meeting with her paper pumpkin and asked if I would create an alternative for her. So I started working with this kit, and holy cow, I came up with so many alternatives for this. And I even still had left over one card base that is the pink check, the bubble gum, or bubble bath, I always call it bubble gum, a part of that card base I cut and just used. A lot of these I pulled in my own white cardstock and made my own card bases, just a standard 4.5 or 4 1/4 by 5.5 card base. And then I still had, and I usually use my own white envelopes. So these envelopes I used in making panels. So I still have 2 whole envelopes and parts of another, panels. And the only pieces that I didn't end up using that I meant to, but they got lost on my workspace, if you would have seen it, it looked like a hurricane went through, was this one little stamp tag, postage tag, and one little sentiment. This is all that I had left of all the pieces and parts. And I'll show you the cards that I made. And I had to make some of my own designer paper because I couldn't figure out anything to do with this rose stamp. And I wanted to use all the stamps and all of the pieces in the kit that I could come up with. But at midnight last night, I finally gave up and went to bed. So, like I said, I can still use these on something else. And generally, their cardstocks are colored on both the front and the back. And I just cut these apart right down the score line, and that gives me a panel for 2 different cards if I just put them on my basic white cardstock. So a kit comes with, where'd my stuff go? Oh, I put it in the box, I guess. When you open your kit, it comes with instructions, a stamp set. I have hair on there. You get a mini stamp and spot. This one was Poppy Parade that coordinated with the kit. You also get dimensionals. These are the minis. And you get tear and tape. So you could take this whole kit with you to the hospital or to visit somebody or to the park and put your kit together there. You really don't need a lot of extra supplies. Now, when I don't use the ink spots, I usually save them for if I'm traveling or something. But I usually use my large. I just pull in my large ink pads when I'm stamping here at home. And I did use all of the stamps. We had a You brighten my day, just for you, happy Valentine's, sending love, and this is just a little strip of hearts. This one says airmail. This one is a little heart that says love. I think it just says love all the way around. Then you have a little postmark that you can cancel any of your stamps. And I was going to do that, but I just love those little stamps so much, the little postage stamps, that I didn't want to cancel them. I think I did on one card, one of the original cards. And then that's the little rose stamp set. And I didn't used to like the paper pumpkins. It just seemed like, I don't know, the quality I didn't think was that great. But this last few years, they have really stepped up the quality. And then I was going to show you, this is what their printed envelopes looked like. And there was a blue one also, this color blue. And I cut those apart, and I just cut down this little strip right here, and I used my guillotine cutter, and I just cut right down that little strip and right down this little strip, and then your envelope will just fold right open, and you can cut the pieces apart. So you've got this strip that you can use, this panel. You've got the flap that you can use, and then, you know, if you want to use this, you can also use that. And this is a little bit larger than your standard card base, so you'll have plenty to cut down. So let me put this out of the way. I'll show you real quick the instructions. You get these are the 3 cards that it made, and you were supposed to make 9 of these cards, but I made 19. I made 3 originals and then 16 more. And it shows you where you put everything, what you stamp, which stamps you use, where to put them, where to put your tape. These are your punch outs. And you get all your little punch outs look like this. And you just punch them out. And save this paper. Because if you want to cut a tag or something that you want to use on one of your alternatives, this white is different than our cardstock white. And I did notice that, although I didn't worry about it. Like you could cut, you know, greetings for sentiments and stuff, but I didn't worry about that. I just used my own card bases, and most of the time you didn't see the white until you opened the card anyway, so you weren't comparing the colors. And this was the second card, and it had this huge postage stamp panel that you were supposed to put these flowers on, but I used mine for something else. And here was the last one, and this was my favorite. This was the one, the postage stamp card. And all these little postage stamps, see, they punched out. And I just fell in love with that card. So my goal was to use all of the punch outs, all of the sentiments, and I mean as much of the other things as I could. But like I said, I still had a card base and one little card panel and a couple envelopes left. Okay, so here are the original cards. And I didn't do those exactly like you were supposed to either. I tried, but I still ended up changing it up a little bit. Okay, this is my favorite. This is the punched out stamps, and I put "You Brighten My Day," and then it had this big glob of flowers across this, and I just cut a flower off of the grouping and just added the one flower and then stamped that, and I just liked that so much better. And I added a few of our brass butterflies. I did pull out some of my other ink pads, as you'll see, and some of my a little bit of ribbon that I had, and then I pulled out some jewels. Most of them were retired, but I thought, well, I'll just see what I can come up with that would match, you know, that I could use. So this is the punch out, and the only thing I stamped was here and here, and I did not do anything on the insides. Okay, so that's card 1. This was the second card. Now, I did not like this rose at all. I did not like this gold panel at all. So I went ahead and made the card pretty much like you were supposed to, except I added one of, I cut my card bases apart, and I used one of the bright pink checked ones behind this so that it just picks up that little bit of pink that matches the rose in the postage indentions. And then I stamped these two things and a cancellation up here. But I don't know. I was not a fan of this rose, and you'll see I ended up on another card. I cut this rose down smaller, and I think it turned out really cute. But I don't think this goes with this at all. I just did not care for it. But I will show you how I used it. Okay, so that was card number 2. This is card number 3, and I did like this one a lot. Now, I did not use the white flowers to pop it up. I just left it like it was. I thought it looked fine like it was. I did the stamping like they suggested, added my greeting, and I did put a little brass butterfly on that. So that's basically what the originals looked like. Now, let's get to the alternatives. Okay. This is one of the little postage stamp panels that looks like this. This is what it looks like originally. It's green. And I cut the envelope apart. This was the flap, I think, that I cut. And I cut this into 1.5 inch squares, I believe, or 1 3/4 inch squares. And just glued them where, I could attach them, all 3. And then added, and this is the one I think that I cut off one of the flowers to put on that other card. And then I just added a few sequins, and I used my blueberry bushel ink pad, because this is supposedly blueberry bushel, although I think it looks, I'll show you later, I pulled out another color that I think it kind of coordinates with. It says the colors in this kit are blueberry bushel, bubble bath, darling duckling, garden green, mossy meadow, poppy parade, and then gold. So there were some of the colors I just couldn't seem to get to match, but I loved this card. Simplicity. And this was the card base that they gave us, the little white card base to put on the back of this postage stamp. I guess they didn't want, the white, the solid, to show through the little indentions. So the card base is smaller than, I think it's 4 by 5 1/4 instead of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, like most standard card bases are. So that is the card base that goes to this. But I loved this card. I thought it turned out so pretty. So then here's the blue, and I took another one of these panels, the green panels, and I added the one of the envelopes, and you can see this is the front, because here's the little, where you would put your address if you were using it like this. And then I had this little card, or little greeting sentiment label that I had punched out of Fragrant Layers dies for something else. And I had it laying here, and I keep a little envelope with dies, like when I'm cutting dies. I was going to show it to you, but I don't know what I did with it. Oh, here it is. As I knocked everything off, I just keep a little plastic envelope, and I keep extra sentiment, and there's one of those. And I thought, you know what? I think I can make that look like a vintage, like a gate, piece of a wrought iron gate, or a, reminded me of a bird cage, that, ornate. So that's what this one was designed to resemble. And I just wove the flowers kind of in and out of it. And then I stamped Just for You in the blueberry bushel. And that is on that small white panel. Okay, now we're going to switch gears. This is the bright, I don't know, what color is that supposed to be? Okay, that's supposed to be, I guess, a brighter bubble bath. I don't know, but these are both supposed to be bubble bath. And this is the pink envelope, the pink checked envelope that I used. And I used the front of it, so there's the little square. If you were addressing, it's under the flowers. And then I just took 3 of the little flowers and put them up on some dimensionals. And then I took some of the green leaves off one of the roses and I turned them backwards so that I just had the white leaves. And then I found a little bit of bubble bath ribbon that I had in my stash. And I already had this stamped from another card that I was working on. I think this was from, go look at my other video on Lovely Blossoms. I did a one sheet wonder, and I had some of these extra. And then I found some pink sequins. I don't think those are the exact color that matches, but I think they look fine. And again, I didn't do the insides. Here's another one using the pink flowers. This is the lighter shade, I guess, of Bubble Bath. And then I just pulled in a white panel from my stash, my cardstock, and I stamped Happy Valentine's off of the stamp set. There's 3 more of those little flowers, and I pulled in one group of the leaves. The roses had a lot of leaves on them. A lot of leaves, and so I was able to cut off some of those leaves and, you know, attach them here, 1 each. And then this was the big panel that they had facing this way, and they had some of those white flowers popped up on top of this. Now I just turned it around. I embossed one of this is the pink and white card base that I think I had an extra. I'll show you. It was this card base that I embossed. See how bright that is? I don't know. I don't see how this is also Bubble Bath. It seems off, but anyway. So I took the new Stone and Vine embossing folder, 3D embossing folder, and I embossed one of these card bases and attached it behind. And it is one of those very deep, detailed embossing folders. I love it. It's brand new. It'll be coming out. In fact, I think it might be in the new mini catalog. And then I stamped the little circle with Sending Love, and that's that. Okay, and then here's another one using that panel, and I just used the small card base on the back, and my white does poke through there, but I liked it like that. It looked like, you know, another layer. And I did the love stamp on this one, even though it's kind of got some lines, I think, where you're supposed to stamp in the middle, but I thought the red was bright enough that you don't necessarily focus on that. And then a little faux bow on here. And then, okay, here is 2 cards using that gold panel that I did not care for. And on this one, this is the one that I cut the rose down to a smaller rose, and I like it much better like that. And see, I just used a couple of the leaves. And then 2 more of those little flowers. Stamped You Brighten My Day, popped it up with some dimensionals. But I used that Stone and Vine again on this embossed panel, and you can see the back is the gold and white. And then the little pieces that I cut off around that rose, I stuck a few back here just for some dimension. So the rose is not my favorite, but I mean, I think this card turned out okay. And then this one uses the All in a Row embossed panel, and this is just a white card base I pulled in, and I just turned that gold around to the back side. There's the rose that I cut down, one of the little flowers, and then I just stamped Happy Valentine's Day. And then we have another one of these flowers with the envelope. where I used the envelope. And this is the full thing of the blue flowers. And I just cut this one off right here, and I could use it on something else. So, stamp Sending Love. Okay, now we're getting into the ones where you actually use the little postage stamps. Now this is one that I did with all in a row embossing folder. And there is, Stampin' Up! Has a add-on die set every new quarter that goes with the 3 paper pumpkin kits that are coming up. So I pulled this out, and I got the word beautiful from it, and I cut that out, and then I popped up some of the, I thought these kind of coordinated together with the blues, and I coordinated those and put them up on dimensionals. And then I found these are the new jewels. These are the Moody Palette Glossy Dots. And you'll see later, I took my alcohol markers and I colored the dots because I needed something that was blueberry bushel, and I had no jewels or anything that was that color. So I colored them my own. And I think I did a couple other colors too. And I did some Mossy Meadow ones too. Okay, there's that card. And then here's one. I wanted to go for just simplicity. Simple look, simple, you know, one stamp. And this was the, where's my original card? One of the larger postage stamps. And I just pulled it out, stuck a little piece of gold foil behind it. I just glued this to the gold foil corner and then just cut around it. That's all I did. And then I had one of these that I cut and trimmed down. And you can put a paper back in your die. You just don't, to make it smaller, and you just don't cut all the way over. You only go to the portion where you need, you know, you can put it through twice, is what I'm trying to say, and you just adjust your paper to cut, you know, cut it where you want it. And this is the beautiful pattern 3D embossing folder that everyone refers to as paper towels, because it kind of has that paper towel look to it. So that's my simple minimalist card. This card I found a design online that I liked. I didn't look these up. These are all my own designs. These are all my own alternatives. I did not copy these off of anybody. I didn't case anybody else. I did look at some, but it was not ones that I wanted to do something different. So these are all my own designs. And this is the one where I painted or colored the blue, and I probably pushed that one with my hand before it wasn't dry, quite dry. And it's a little bit different colored, but I like that. And this one, you can see it's got a little bit of darker color in it. I like that. I like the look of that. And then I just stamped this down on the bottom, You Brighten My Day. And I used Blueberry Bushel cardstock. This is Blueberry Bushel two-tone cardstock. It has a light side and a dark side. And this is the light side that I embossed. Now, the two-tone has a white core. So when you tear it or you emboss it and it kind of cracks that paper a little bit, it gives you that weathered look. So this just came out of the embossing folder like this. I didn't put white, you know, paint on it or white ink or anything. And then I just popped the little stamp up on dimensionals, and that's that card. Then I decided I needed to do at least one fun fold in here. So I did this fun fold, and this is just a very simple Z card. And it just pulls open like this. and I found some green Mossy Meadow. This is Mossy Meadow card base, but I still used the same green envelope, and Mossy Meadow and Garden Green are both in the colors in this kit. So I thought, well, I'm going to use the Mossy Meadow for this one. And I had this large postage stamp out of my postage stamp dies. I have a whole set of postage stamp dies, and I believe they're still available on the website in my store. And I thought it was too big and this was too skinny, so I just added some ribbon right behind here on each side with some tear and tape, and just to give it a little bit of shimmer. And then I had this gap in between here, and I thought, well, I'm going to add a little bit more ribbon to that so that it still shows when my card is closed. And then I just took some of the stamps, and these are some more that I colored, the jewels with the glossy matte dots, colored those with my alcohol blend markers. And then I colored some more of the blue and added them to the middle of these flowers. And I don't think they really add anything to the middle of these flowers. I probably could take those off, because I really did. This was one of my favorite stamps, postage stamps that they had. But they're on there for now. And then I have this beautiful card. Now this is the one I was telling you. They said, oh, that's blueberry bushel. And I'm looking at this light blue thinking, I don't think that's blueberry bushel stamped off. But I mean, okay, they say it is, I guess. But it's like, how many times do you stamp off to get that color? So I went to my cardstock bin, and I looked, and I found that this boho blue, which is retired, I had a few pieces left, and I thought, I think that kind of coordinates with this. So I went ahead and embossed that panel with the blueberry bushel and cut my envelope strips, and I think that turned out really cute. And then I just stamped, I didn't add a greeting, I just put the hearts down here. And I just thought that turned out so cute. And then this was my favorite. What I did here was, the postage stamps come to you in a grid. They have a whole grid of stamps, of the postage stamps. And I thought, I bet I can do something with the grid. So I saved them. So I took one and I cut it right down this line, because since this is here, this big one, you can't cut these, so I just cut these two off, and I used this on my card. So my border is on my card. And then I popped all of the stamps up, the postage stamps up. There's one, there is one of my envelope panels. This is a tiny sliver of blueberry bushel. I think this is two-tone, sticking out from behind. And then I took one of my stamp sets. Well, I was trying to find something that would fit in this square, and I really didn't have a lot that would, take up most of the square, and most of the stamps that I had in the kit did not. So I found this one, Thinking of You, that I thought really worked well there. And I could make it into a birthday card, a sympathy card. I can make it into whatever, just because, you can be thinking of somebody for all kinds of reasons. So that was my favorite of all the ones I made. Well, except for the blue and the green plaids. And then here's the last one. This is the one I struggled with so much, because I couldn't find anything that looked right with this flower. So I took a piece of the two-tone Poppy Parade and put it to the back of the stamp just to give it some more dimension. But then I thought that same two-tone looked orangey, and I thought, well, I can't use that. That's too orange. And you can kind of see it here in the little dots, my alcohol markers for my Poppy Parade Dark, they looked a little orange. And so I thought, well, I've got to figure out some kind of designer paper I can use here. I couldn't find anything. So finally I just took a piece of one of the envelopes, and see this white, see the difference? See the difference in the white? It's kind of a blue white or a grayish white, and ours is not. So, and I don't know if this is the older Whisper white or the basic white that they sell now, but I had a few pieces of cardstock that I was trying to use up some of my older Whisper white, and so I was trying to use that. But I went ahead and used the back of one of the panels so that I had the same white that's in the stamp here, and then I kind of forgot about this, so I should have used a panel for that too, because I had one I could have flipped it over and used the back side. See, these are white on the back, so I could have cut this and used it for that, but I didn't. I was too tired. This was the last one I made at midnight, and I thought, I'm done, and this is the last one I'm making. And I used all my postage stamps except for, like I said, this I had one of these left over, and one sentiment, and I think that was all of the pieces I had left over that you punch out. But that's my paper pumpkin, and if you would like to subscribe to my paper pumpkin, you can do that on my store, my Stampin' Up! Store. I'll put the link down in the bottom after I get the video posted. And I hope that you are not in one of those areas where they're supposed to get 18 inches of snow this weekend. I think we're supposed to get 5 to 10 or something like that. I hope not. I like snow once during the season. We've already had it, and I'm done. I don't want any more. I don't know if I would get out of my driveway if we get that much. So happy Friday, and stay safe and stay warm. Thanks, everybody. Oh, please subscribe and leave me a thumbs up and tell me which one was your favorite card. Thank you.